Picture this. You log into your bank account, and staring back at you is exactly $2.26. You're living at home with your folks, feeling, well, completely stuck, wondering how on earth you're ever going to break free. Believe it or not, that incredibly low number was Grant Sabatier's entire net worth in his early 20s. But here's the crazy part. Just 5 years later, he was a millionaire. And no, he didn't hit the jackpot, and he didn't invent the next huge tech app. He just completely changed his strategy.
Welcome to This Explainer. I'm so thrilled to have you here with us. Whether you're wanting to apply these life-changing lessons to your own finances, or you're just looking to summarize this book for your own projects, this right here is your definitive guide. Today, we're going to completely break down Grant Sabatier's step-by-step system for breaking out of that 9-to-5 grind. We're not just talking theory here. This is a highly structured, totally actionable blueprint for achieving financial independence way faster than you probably thought possible. All right, let's dive right in. To make this as clear as possible, we've boiled down the book's 14 chapters into a simple 5-part agenda. First, the wake-up call. Second, finding your freedom number. Third, maximizing your income engine. Fourth, the wealth multiplier. And finally, number 5, the endgame, living richer. Starting off with Section 1, the wake-up call, shifting the paradigm.
So the fundamental mindset shift really begins right here. Most of us just think of money as something to spend, maybe save a little bit of, and basically just use to get by. But Sabatier realized something huge. Money's true purpose is actually to buy freedom. Think about the contrast here. On one side, you've got the broken traditional system. You know the drill. Trade your precious hours for a paycheck until you're 65 and just cross your fingers that you have a few good years left to actually enjoy yourself. But on the flip side is the liberating strategy Sabatier advocates for, which is making your money buy your freedom, not just more stuff. You absolutely have to start building assets that generate passive income while you sleep. Honestly, every single minute you don't spend moving toward this freedom is literally a minute of your life you're just giving away.
Moving on to Section 2, finding your freedom number. The math of independence.
To escape that rat race, and, ideally before you feel like a literal rat on a wheel, you need a target. Luckily, you really don't need a billionaire's bank account to pull this off. It's surprisingly simple. Step 1 is to calculate your annual expenses. We're talking rent, groceries, travel, the whole shebang. Let's just say you figure out you can live comfortably on $40,000 a year. Okay, step 2 is to simply multiply that number by 25. Bam, that gives you a $1 million target. That right there is your freedom number. You see, you don't necessarily need $50 million to retire. And get this, if you can manage to lower your expenses down to, say, $30,000 a year, your freedom number drops to just $750,000.
Which brings us to Section 3, maximize your income engine, earning, saving, and hustling.
Now, we're getting into the aggressive action phase of the blueprint. This is where you absolutely must take control of both your spending and your earning potential. You've probably heard of the traditional budget rule, right? 50% for needs, 30% for wants, and 20% for savings. But if you want to reach financial freedom quickly, I'm going to challenge you to push that savings slice to 25% or even way higher. Cut those unused subscriptions, dodge lifestyle inflation like the plague, and really embrace things like house hacking. And no, that doesn't mean taking a sledgehammer to your living room walls. It means renting out parts of your home to basically eliminate your own housing costs. Fun fact, Sabatier himself was actually saving 50 to 80% of his income to put his path on absolute overdrive.
But to actually keep your savings rate that high, you've got to practice what we call conscious spending. Before you make any impulse buys, like literally before you tap your card, you have to hit the pause button and ask yourself one critical question. Is it really worth it? To really answer that, you need to run your potential purchases through a few specific, kind of myth-busting questions. First up, do I really need this? Second, how long will I actually use it? Or is it just going to end up collecting dust in a closet somewhere? Third, what's the real cost? Because, let's be honest, it's never just the price tag on the shelf. It's the ongoing maintenance, the subscriptions, the mental clutter. And finally, the absolute most important question. Could I invest this money instead? Seriously, every single time you spend, you are making a direct trade-off with your own future freedom.
And here's the thing. At the exact same time you're cutting all those costs, you need to relentlessly attack the earning side of the equation. You've got to aggressively optimize your current 9-to-5 job. Ask for those raises. Go out and learn high-demand skills. And, for crying out loud, make sure you are capturing every single cent of your employer's 401k match. That is literally free money. But don't stop there. You've got to launch high-leverage side hustles. Look for freelance or consulting gigs where you are the one dictating your own rates. By untethering your income from just a fixed hourly wage, you'll see your cash flow absolutely skyrocket.
All right, Section 4, the Wealth Multiplier, making your money work for you.
So here's a bit of a hard truth. You cannot simply save your way to millions. It just doesn't work. You have to strategically deploy your cash into compounding investments to actually make your money work for you. The strategy lays out a vital roadmap. Step 1, build a rock-solid foundation with a 3 to 6 month emergency fund and wipe out that high-interest debt. Step 2, capture that employer match in tax-advantaged accounts. Step 3, invest heavily in low-cost, diversified index funds. These are incredibly cheap to own, and historically, they've absolutely crushed actively managed funds. And finally, Step 4, for those of you looking to scale up really rapidly, leverage real estate.
Now, speaking of real estate, the really powerful secret here is OPM, other people's money. By utilizing loans or teaming up with private investors, you can control these massive cash-flowing properties without tying up all of your own cash. Sabatier is a big fan of the BRRRR method. That stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. Basically, you buy a property, fix it up, rent it out so it generates cash, then you refinance it to pull your original equity back out. Then, you use that exact same money to repeat the entire process all over again. This right here is exactly how a $10,000 initial investment can literally be leveraged into an absolute fortune.
And finally, Section 5, the end game, living richer, sustaining your freedom.
Imagine you've finally reached the summit. This is the magical point where your investment portfolio entirely covers your living expenses forever, all thanks to the 4% safe withdrawal rule. Decades of financial research have basically proven that if your portfolio is invested correctly, you can safely withdraw 4% of your total investments every single year to live on. The crazy part? Your money will continue to grow enough to sustain you indefinitely without ever depleting your principal balance. Remember that $1,000 target we talked about earlier? Well, 4% of that gives you your $40,000 a year, forever.
But of course, to protect that wealth once you've actually built it, you need what Sabatier calls the future optimization framework. Because building wealth is really about doing the right things consistently over time. On a daily basis, you track your spending and keep your focus on growth. Weekly, you sit down, review your finances, and set some short-term goals. Monthly, you're adjusting that budget and investing in new skills for yourself. Quarterly, you want to evaluate your investments and rebalance them so they perfectly match your risk tolerance. And then annually, you do a full audit of your habits and review your long-term strategy. This is the exact step-by-step maintenance routine you need to stay on track.
All of this brings us to one final, ultimate question. What would you do if you never had to work for money again? Think about it. True richness isn't actually about fancy cars or enormous houses. It's about having the time to define success entirely on your own terms. It's about building a life you don't feel the need to escape from. The blueprint is sitting right in front of you. Start tracking, start saving, start investing, and start buying back your time today.